Hey, JC here at JC's Comics and More, your pop culture superstore. That is Toledo, Ohio, 43617-419-531-6097. We're doing the Edgar Rice Burroughs DC comics. This guy had the DC Tarzans, but did not have any of the Gold Key Tarzans or the Gold Key Korax, which was interesting. Now DC did something interesting here. They kept the numbering going from the Gold Key line, which was probably very unheard of back then. If it was a Marvel book, it would be a #1, but they are right here. First DC issue. The great Joe Kubert adapted those, and this is amazing stuff. If you've never had a chance to have the pleasure to read these, you need to seek these out. I've got the prehistoric model kits from Aurora. Take a look at the back here, and then they also had a backup feature. There's Korak pushing that. John Carter of Mars. This has Murphy Anderson did the artwork on this. I think it might have been written by maybe Marv Wolfman may have wrote this, but John Carter showing up in Mars, and you've got the Martians. Very great stuff. They'd also have little backup features. Tarzan's First Christmas, as illustrated by Hal Foster from 1931. This here, the letters page talks about Edgar Rice Burroughs. You got little naked Tarzan running around. He fights an ape to the death. We don't have the second issue, but we have the third issue. And we have Jane Porter, who Tarzan fell in love with. He tries to read these, and he does eventually. Again, you've got the Dum Dum. Marv Wolfman was the associate editor. He sent copies out to Jim Steranko and some others to get their feedback. And again, this John Carter shows up in Weird Worlds next. But there's Deja Thoris as she is properly seen. There you got Jane Porter. Tarzan's first is writing finally. This is House of Tarzan, killer of beasts. Do not harm the things which are Tarzan's. Tarzan of the Apes. Fourth DC issue. And I think after that they stopped. They didn't put on the 5th DC issue, but the first 4 issues they want to let you know that it's now published by DC. Again, the great Joe Kubert. Tarzan civilized. He goes back to man's land, and somebody learns you don't want to mess with Tarzan. It talks about DC Comics being 20 cents now. It's great Kubert covers. I had this as a kid. My dad bought these for me. He was a big Edgar Rice Burroughs fan. Got these crocodiles. Tarzan kill him. Tarzan was not afraid of anything. Again, some stuff from Hal Foster. Fighting Giants. The Nightmare. This had Tarzan, I believe, ate some hallucinogenic food, some meat, because he's hungry. He is once repelled and sickened by the taste. For the first time, the ape man is eating cooked meat. It disgusts him, but he is hungry and he eats. And then later, he's in a tree. The meat stinks as if buried a long time. The Mangani ate it and liked it. Bah, I can eat no more. My belly feels as if the meat will eat its way out, but it would not give up so easily. I would not give up so easily. I will rest. And then he wakes and finds this gray lion coming after him. And then there's a great vulture that picks him up out of the sky. He wakes back up in the tree, and he sees some more hallucinations. But later it comes back to bite him in the butt. because a great white ape gorilla comes and he thinks it's not real. You know, go away, you're not here. You're only a piece of spoiled meat that sticks in my belly. And that ape didn't like that very much and went after him. Dan Green. This is rare Dan Green artwork. He's known for like inking John Byrne and Dave Cockrum's X-Men stuff. Beyond the Furthest Star, based on the novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs, Marv Wolfman. Marv Wolfman certainly loved Edgar Rice Burroughs, and it shows. Issue 216 here. The power of Tarzan, throwing the spirit, goes through both of them. The Dum Dum, or here you got Howard Chaykin doing the artwork now, and they don't say who wrote it, but it's probably either Chaykin or it's probably Marv Wolfman who wrote the previous one. It's Fury in the Desert, The Return of Tarzan. Some of these were based on Edgar Rice Burroughs novels. And that right there is as true then as it is now. They start putting these Tarzan and animal encyclopedias in here. Very educational little things that they put in there. Again, these great ads that they would put in these comic magazines. Back to the Primate. This is part 3 of this storyline. Got this great book pushing this treasury-sized issue. Warning: this is a very limited edition. Tarzan always fighting and winning. Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a friend of Jane Porter. DC Currents. It's kind of like their version of the Marvel Bullpen. Return of Tarzan. City filled with gold. There it is, the Forbidden City. The City of Gold. They bow down from their high priestess. There's Jane. Pushing that Treasury edition once more. The Pit of Doom, The Return of Tarzan. Tarzan and Jane on the cover. You got the High Priestess. This is part 5, the conclusion. Again, you've got the Aurora Prehistoric Scenes ads. Pushing the first issue of Plop. The High Priestess. Great beauty among herself, and there's the treasure of Opar. I will always love you, Tarzan. Pushing Shadow number 1. There you go. Got some more house ads there. Got Shazam holding a little baby. There you go. Got the Animal Encyclopedia once more. Got a couple of different ones. Death is My Brother. Let's finish up the Golden City. Get this giant brute taking on Tarzan. And there you go. Again, you got these house ads. That's the High Priestess's assistant, and he kills her. I'm not sure, but probably rips her head off. Cobras. Cobras are never good. It always has to be snakes. Why did it always have to be snakes? Moon Beast. Tarzan's up partying up. It's Saturday night. He's out with his buddies. He's fighting some demon there. And there you go. Issue 226. And cool dinosaur cover there. Tarzan fighting, dancing and killing with wolves. This gives Joe Kubert a rest, and the great Russ Manning did this issue. He did a lot of stuff for Gold Key. Did Magnus Robot Fighter. Russ Manning, a true master. Joe Kubert's back. That's beetles and ants, fire ants. Got a saber-toothed cat there. And Tarzan succeeds, that he is triumphant. Action Comics sold for $1,800 way back then. People would be happy to pay $1,800 for an Action Comics #1 now. You see the great beast getting closer and closer. Comes through there. Something about these Joe Kubert dinosaurs are just, you know, they're not happy creatures. They'll eat you. It wants Tarzan. It doesn't want the other tribesmen. Tarzan has to try to kill it, but the spear harmlessly bounces off its thick, scaly hide. But Tarzan does triumph it. And since this issue here had dinosaur in it, that's what the encyclopedia focuses on, some dinosaurs this time. As a kid, this just geeked me out. This was cool stuff, man. Got 229, another great Joe Kubert cover. Pushing more of the treasuries. Again, Tarzan's fighting crocodiles. And then we go to 100-page spectaculars. We've got several 100-page spectaculars here. These were great. Had Korak, had Carson of Venus, Congo Bill reprints. Also, you have, let's see, this was, Simba the Jungle Boy. This was in the 1960s. I enjoyed those covers. Talks about Tarzan, Citizen of the World. Some of the other issues had the different Tarzans, actors who played Tarzan throughout the years. How I Wrote the Tarzan books by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Again, this stuff has not been reprinted. Tarzan and the Lion Man. That was part 1. There's OMAC #1. You got Detective Shimp in here also. You got some flying, let's say they're not dinosaurs. I always call them flying dinosaurs. Of course, Tarzan is triumphant, as Tarzan always is. And I believe there's a Stegosaurus and a sauropod, and it's supposed to be a Tyrannosaurus. Doesn't quite look like a Tyrannosaurus, but it's a mean looking dinosaur nonetheless. The last 100-page giant, pin up from the movies. It's Korak. Alex Nino did the artwork. Got Rex the Wonder Dog. And that was their version. A Triceratops, sort of mixed with a Stegosaur. They called these things Gryphs. Gryf. And you could tame them. again, the great Russ Manning doing the artwork. His women were extraordinarily classic, beautiful women. Looks like Rogue. Looks like Khazar. Okay, we've got the first DC issue of Korak. We've got a Joe Kubert cover. And as a kid, I wasn't really aware of the different artists. This is badly water damaged, and that has become brittle and has broken. But this was Frank Thorne doing the artwork on these. I did not realize that, because the artwork was so familiar to me, and I didn't really pay attention to the artist that much. But Len Wein wrote this. But Frank Thorne did the artwork, who later went on to do Red Sonja for Marvel. Gave her a very classic look. Had Alan Wise and Len Wein and Pel Lucidar. More Edgar Rice Burroughs. You got Carson of Venus, Mike Kaluta, and Len Wein. More Giant Monsters, covered by Joe Kubert. On the inside is, once again, is by Frank Thorne. And his monsters are just as fearsome as Joe Kubert's. As you'll see here, look at that. I had this issue as a kid. I just love that. That was just great. More Carson of Venus. And there you go, that's a Griff. Somehow he is able to kill it. I sincerely doubt that he would have the strength, because an animal like that, its bite, the jaw that it could bite with probably is off the scales. The origin of Korak. Written and edited by Kubert. Art by Frank Thorne. These giant lizards coming after him. And again, you've got Carson of Venus. This giant spider. This was pretty horrifying as a kid, thinking that there could be giant spiders like that. He met his future girlfriend, Mariel, and he became enamored with her. The bowels of the earth. He's searching for her. Searching for his love. This is one of Frank's last issues, I believe. And again, you got Carson of Venus with these strange creatures. Looks like she's lost forever. She has to be dead, right? Then you got some bizarre sea creature. More bizarre creatures in Carson of Venus. The Outcast. The artwork now is by Murphy Anderson now. So Frank has moved on. A giant Cyclops. Pushing a issue of Tarzan. And again, Carson of Venus. There's the encyclopedia. Had this issue as a kid as well. There he is. You got Murphy Anderson once more. Script and art is by Mike Kaluta at that time, so he has taken over. And DC is probably one of the first companies to really have a lot of writer artists. Didn't have that too much at Marvel. Ditko would do some of his horror and his suspenseful stuff, but that's about it. And look at that crazy dinosaur there. It's like a Hydra stegosaur. Saw that as a kid, and that was just wild. I thought that thing was just, I mean, look at that thing. I'd like to have that thing attack you. No, thank you. And then he's saved, becomes his brother, and then they each end up saving each other, so they're always in debt. Again, you got Mike Kaluta doing Curse of the Venus. I think that is going to be reprinted here by, I can't remember which company is going to be doing it. The Mound of Skulls, issue 56. Again, you've got got Kaluta there. Got Murphy Anderson doing the artwork on the Korak story. Giant beetle. Should have just ripped him in half. We move on to Weird Worlds. Cooper did the covers. This is John Carter with Deja Thors. And then you had Adventure at the Earth's Core. Pellucidar. Always had trouble with that, but Alan Wise, actually it was Alan Lee Wise at that time, and Len Wein. They're kidnapped, and then he sees Miss and the Dia the Beautiful, and she certainly was. Alan had a knack for drawing just amazingly stunning women as well. Recounts a little bit of how John Carter got to Mars. There he's hanging out with Deja Thors. They're going to have a good time, but it's going to be attacked by some Martians. Oh, he lost an arm. You've got Fantastic Monsters. Not exactly sure who did this cover. It looks a little bit like Joe Kubert, but it's not. Influenced a little bit. It's not quite red, but it's red-orange, just pops. And you've got this giant flying reptile that they have to fight. Marv Wolfman's still writing, but Murphy Anderson has moved on. Fantastic artwork. I believe Dan Green takes over at some point here. Got a clue to cover. The Beast That Will Not Die meets the Ugly One in combat. Boxes his ears. I believe this is Dan Green at this point. Yeah, Dan Green's doing the artwork at this point. There's not too many more issues with the Edgar Rice Burroughs characters. I think this was the last issue. This may have been the last, or maybe there might have been one more issue with the Edgar Rice Burroughs characters. Yeah, there was one more issue. Before that they were finished here. And moved on to Howard Chaykin's Iron Wolf at that point. This is again a rare Howard Chaykin stuff. Very, very different from the stuff that he currently does. Illustrated by Walt Simon, or lettered by Walt Simonson, script by Denny O'Neil, but created, plotted, and drawn by Howard Chaykin. Again, his stuff is very different from what it is now, but it's still classic Chaykin all the way there. This is not a Chaykin cover. I think this might be a Nick Cardy cover. Looking at the face there, looks like Nick Cardy. You got pushing the 100-page spectaculars, The Witching Hour, and Batman. But again, Chaykin all the way. And also they've got additional dialogue by William Shakespeare. This is something else that Chaykin, his women, he liked to do. Have them outfits like that there. Here we got a clue to cover. Again, Howard Chaykin, 1973 is when this was done. It's amazing that somebody like Chaykin could have done those comics each month, and now they can barely do a monthly comic. This was Sword and Sorcery, short-lived series that had Pfaffer and the Grey Mouser. And who did the art on this? Howard Chaykin did the art on this as well. And again, as you look at it, you can certainly see his influence. You know, he liked doing those nice thigh boots for the men. Like, again, he must have really liked that Sean Connery movie. Not sure if that was a Chaykin cover. That one, I believe, was a Chaykin cover. You got the crack in there. Unfortunately, that issue is a little banged up there. And issue 5, I believe this was the last issue of this series. But look at how this yellow, again, I talk about the colors, the yellow and the red just pop off of this. DC, Sword of Sorcery. Walt Simonson did the art on this. This is early Walt Simonson artwork. And there's something very classic from Walt Simonson in here that Walt does with all of his comics. There you've got this Treasury edition right there. He'll hide his name in somewhere in the comics. Jim Starlin and Al Milgrom. So again, another great. Some great artwork in this book. Probably a lot cheaper than what it should be. But this is classic Starlin. Just the layouts. It's just what you'd expect from somebody like Jim Starlin. But there was, I can't remember what issue it was. If it's one of these, it had to be one of these, where they said that they were canceling the book because ecology had caught up with them. And that was the reason why the book was being canceled, because they run out of trees. There's not enough trees to print the comic. And I wish I could find that. I wish I knew exactly what issue that was. There was some comic here that it might have been, it was Weird Worlds. Here it is. Because this was the last issue of this series. So let's find it here. Here we go. Dear readers, you're holding the last issue of this magazine. The reason for its demise, I think, is worth telling. Judging from the mail we've gotten, WW is a critical success, and sales reports indicate that it is commercially a success. Why this product end in the word ecology. For years, we've been publishing stories in the comics, in science fiction collections, and detective magazines, warning of impending shortages of vital materials, or worse, and pleading that we follow the ancient Indian and damnation and walk lightly on the earth. People thought we weren't serious. You're moaning.